Okay, so this question's been coming up quite abundantly lately, and on the surface, I would say that maybe Naples versus Miami isn't an apt comparison where, they're so different. But it's not always Sarasota versus Naples or versus Boca Raton. People are comparing these cities a lot. And depending on where you move from, it's a tough decision, right? There's a lot different. The proximity, the size of these things, the pace of life, all that kind of stuff. So we thought it was time to broach that topic. Now, what's cool about my organization is one, I basically spent my entire life on the Southwest Florida Gulf Coast. I moved quite a bit, but basically, south of Clearwater to north of Marco Island, I spent most of my existence. And then our manager of branding and communications here, Brett Holler, was literally born and raised in Miami, and then recently relocated to the Gulf Coast of Florida. So we're gonna kind of do a non-adversarial yin and yang devil's advocate format to compare these, which I think will add a little bit more value as a first-hand take. Hope you guys find value in all of that. Hope you enjoy, and let's get started. Okay, first up, let's talk location and overall proximity. Okay, let's first talk Naples. So when looking at this comparable, what I would say is what's really important here is where the city sits in the state and maybe the coastline. Those are the two biggest kind of divides you would see. So if you're looking at Naples, for instance, a lot of times it's a choice when you've already kind of chosen this part of the Gulf Coast of Florida. And maybe you like Naples more than Sarasota. You thought Tampa was too busy. That's how people are kind of working through this decision. You're comfortable with the Gulf beaches and you like the fishing and just the way the coastline is so different, the warm water, etc. If you jump all the way to the Atlantic coast, it changes everything. It changes the way the beaches are and how the water moves and all that kind of stuff before you even talk about the pace of the city. So Naples, I think that's a lot of the decision. If you're literally apples to apples on the Naples versus Miami, you might work your way down from macro location, unless you have family ties or something like that, before you actually hone in on city. Because once you decide on macro location, the comparables of the cities might also exist in that same region.
Now, Miami, on the other hand, is located in pretty much the perfect place as far as metropolitan cities are concerned. So Miami is the largest metropolitan city, southernmost metropolitan city on Florida's Atlantic coast. Now, what's great about that is it does also put you very close to places like Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, as well as on the flip side, puts you a lot closer to the Florida Keys. Now, location-wise, comparing Naples and Miami, you can't really do a direct comparison only because, let's say, the greater Miami area, where you have a ton of different neighborhoods, a ton of different areas, whereas Naples is a little bit more centralized and it's definitely more of an exclusive city in its entirety, where Miami, you have a lot of offshoot cities, offshoot neighborhoods. So I would say, like Coral Gables, for example, would be an area that's very likely compared to a place like Naples, even a place like Sarasota, just for its similarities. You have the conveniences of a larger city, but in the smaller town scale of more of like a small town feel, if you will. But again, it's not really that one place is better than the other. But if you were to compare the location, it's more about what it gives you access to. Naples and Miami both being located pretty south on the state, just on opposite coasts, they're very easy to access back and forth from one to the other. So similar and different alike, location-wise, it's more about what you need access to.
Okay, to set the foundation for this one, let me walk through a little data first that's very poignant in this conversation. So overall population in Naples versus Miami, Naples 22,000, Miami almost 500,000. Median age against the two. So median age in Naples, 65.9 years of age, just median, not average. Miami, just 40 years of age on median. So half of Miami's population, according to the last study, was under 40 years of age. Now it gets even crazier here. So let's talk age buckets. So 25 years to 34 years old. Miami's 16.5% of their population, Naples less than 5%. Then you go to 35 to 44, 15% of Miami's population is 35 to 44, Naples 4%. 45 to 54, another 14% for Miami, and then it gets a little higher at 10% for Naples. So the bulk of Miami's population is from 25 to 54, which is kind of crazy. If you go to 65 years of age to 74, 25% of Naples' population is 65 to 74. 75 to 84 years of age, 17.6% of Naples' population, and these are negligible numbers for Miami. So you take that, overall what creates like craziness pace of a city, A lot of it to me is everyone trying to drive to a place or get to a place at a certain time for economics reasons that they can't avoid. Take a Naples where people just simply aren't waking up to go to work. Even during busy seasons, there's not these bottlenecks that are unavoidable that relate to day starting because historically the workday starts at a certain time. So even if you earlier or later, it's 8 to 5, it's 9 to 6, it's 7 to 4. Can't avoid it. And I think that is the biggest thing when it would be comparing Naples versus Miami in this conversation.
I think a great way to piggyback all that amazing data would be for me to get a little bit more personal, kind of about my move from Miami to the west coast of Florida. Now, as much as I love Miami, it's the place I was born and raised, it's the place where I have the most memories with my family. I would say that I'm so much happier now that I live on the west coast. The major thing for me that was such a drawback to a place like Miami, which we're mentioning before, really is that crazy rat race of a commute. Being in a city where the majority of the people are of a younger age, what that means is that the majority of the people living there are still working. So if you look at 8 o'clock in the morning and, 10 times more people are trying to get to the same place, that equates to a lot of traffic, potential accidents, and just so much stress added to your day before you've even stepped foot in your office. Now, move to a coast like this, my current office is 9 miles from my house. My commute is very, very minimal. It's very stress-free. And, there might be a minute or two of traffic here and there. But other than that, there's no sense of that added stress on top of a workday, which actually makes your quality of life better overall.